Hey you, welcome back to my channel. I hope that you're doing well today. I am coming to you today to share with you my 2021 reading goals. So, as you know, I did this same series last year in 2020 with 4 categories of 5 books that I wanted to read in 2020. However, it's a little different this year just because 1, the categories are different, but 2, there are 5 categories of 4 books instead of 4 categories of 5. Therefore, I'm able to cover more categories, but have a more concise group of books. So, without further ado, I'm just gonna hop right on in to the first category, which is a continuation of last year's category of classics. So these are the 4 classics that I plan to read, and I'm so excited to get to them. So the first one that I have is The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. So I have heard mixed things about this book. I have heard people hate it. I've heard people love it. It's very polarizing. Like, no one is like, it's all right. You either love it or you hate it. So I am very excited to get through this and potentially use this in my classroom with my English 3 students, since it is an American novel that I just haven't read yet. So it's like your typical American coming of age novel for boys is what I'm hearing. Other than that, I don't know much about the plot. So, Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, I'm excited to get to it. The next classic that I have is Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston, and I am so excited to read this one. I've heard nothing but amazing things. I've heard that it's very hard to read at times, but worth it. Beautifully written. I've heard that it describes the reality of Black women during the time in which it was written perfectly. And obviously that deals with a lot of negative things that our main character has to go through. But I heard that, like I said, it is so worth the harshness of the plot for the beautiful writing, the characters, the story overall, and the themes running throughout this book. So I'm excited for it. Nervous, but excited. So this is another one I have planned to read in 2021. The next classic we have is Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut. Again, this is one that I bought this like years and years and years ago, and I saw like one person talking about it, but I don't really remember what they said it was about. I think it's like a post-war novel, like an anti-war post-war novel, or maybe it's during the war. I don't know, but it's anti-war. So that makes me excited. I have never read a Kurt Vonnegut, but I heard that he is a very interesting writer, and people, again, either love or hate his writing style. So Slaughterhouse-Five is one that's probably his most famous. That or Cat's Cradle. Those are the 2 I hear a lot. But I've had this on my shelf for, like I said, years. So it's due time that I read it. So this is another one that I have planned to read in 2021. And closing out our classics category, we have A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. I am excited for this book. I haven't heard much about it because, I mean, with classics, you don't really hear much about them at all on BookTube. But I hear a lot about the movie by Stanley Kubrick, and that is one that people love, and I see a lot of the imagery, the iconography, and that makes me want to read this book. I've heard about one scene when I was in my music for film class. We discussed a scene in the movie, Stanley Kubrick's movie, that happened while I think Singing in the Rain was going on in the background, and they talked about the gross juxtaposition that caused. But that makes me understand that this book is a dystopian of sorts, and it's not going to be fun to read. It's going to be pretty dark and demented, but nonetheless, I am excited to read it because I hear from people that they love the movie, so I would assume if the movie's good, the book must be better, right? So again, don't know much about it, but I am excited to read it this year. All right, so that closes out our classics category, and the next category that we have is a new category this year, and one that I was so excited when I came up with, and that is idol books. Okay, so people that I look up to, especially in music, only in music. What I did is I selected 4 musicians to dive into what their favorite books are, or books that they have discussed before in the media, and I decided to read those books. I've already read 2 of the 4 because, again, like I said, this category intrigued me the most out of the categories that I've selected, but when I'm listing each book, I will let you know which artist recommended this book. So First, we have Norwegian Wood by Haruki Murakami, and this, a lot of you I'm sure know, is recommended to me by Harry Styles. Not specifically him recommending it to me, but he recommended it to everyone, and he says he loves it. So I love Harry Styles. He was my top played artist last year, and I had his album on repeat the year before and last year. Fine Line is incredible. I mean, his self-entitled album, the first one, was phenomenal, but Fine Line just was even better. So Norwegian Wood has me excited to read it. I don't know what it's about other than it's like an odyssey. It's like a journey tale, like an epic journey. And that's really all I know about it and all I really want to know going into it. So this is Harry Styles' recommendation, and I'm so excited to get to it. Next, we have Lady Gaga's recommendation to me, which was Letters to a Young Poet by Rainer Maria Rilke. This is a really, really small book, and I have finished it. I annotated it while reading, and I am not going to say whether I enjoyed it or not. I'll leave that for the end of the year wrap up. But this book follows... It doesn't really follow anyone. I don't know what I'm saying. Rainer Maria Rilke was writing letters to a young poet who wrote Rilke asking for advice for writing. And so Rilke gave him some advice through several letters. They exchanged letters back and forth. And Rilke goes into a lot of really great ideas for maintaining inspiration and sharing advice to this young poet as he's coming to terms with who he is as a writer. And yeah, that's what this book is about. I almost said whether I enjoyed it or not, but I'll leave that at the end, like I said. But this is Lady Gaga's pick, so you should check it out if you haven't already and see if you like it, and then come back at the end of the year and see if I like it. All right, next we have another one that I have read already, and that is Caroline Polachek's recommendation for me. So Caroline Polachek is one of my favorite musicians, and she's so underrated. She was in the band Chairlift, which I loved in college, and then she has broken out of that and become her own artist as Caroline Polachek. One of her songs that some of you may know, because it was probably her most popular from her most recent album, was So Hot You're Hurting My Feelings.
Out at a party that playing our song, I cry on the dance floor. It's so embarrassing. Don't send me photos you make, and it was 'cause you're so hard, it's hurting my feelings.
A fucking bop. I still listen to that song like weekly. It's phenomenal. So the book that she recommended me was Autobiography of Red by Anne Carson. This book is a modern day retelling of Geryon's myth. So Heracles, an ancient myth, Heracles slayed Geryon as one of his labors. And this book kind of takes like a more modern queer approach to Geryon and Heracles' relationship. And I, like I said, have already read this. I will let you know my thoughts at the end of the year. But it is very interesting. It's also written in verse. I forgot to say that. So it's a very, I wouldn't say quick read, because it deals with very heavy topics which become difficult to trudge through at times. But the verse aspect of it definitely helps aid in the pacing of this story. So that is Autobiography of Red by Anne Carson. And then lastly, for the idol category, we have Maddie Healy's recommendation for me, which the 1975 is like my favorite band of all time. I have been in love with them since high school, and I have followed them throughout their different evolutions of the band. My favorite album of theirs is and will always be I Like It When You Sleep, for You Are So Beautiful Yet So Unaware of It. Fantastic. So Maddie Healy is the lead singer of the 1975, and one of his favorite books, and authors in general, is Truman Capote. And the book that I will be reading is what I believe to be his favorite from Truman Capote, which is In Cold Blood, which I've already been excited to read before. The other three I kind of had to buy once I found out the artist's favorites. But for In Cold Blood, I already had it, and I have a used copy, so it's already annotated by the person that read it before me, so I'm excited to get to see what their thoughts are as well while reading. For those of you who are unsure what In Cold Blood is about, it's a true crime novel about the case where a family of 4 was killed in their house. They were shot by shotguns in the face, and there is seemingly no suspect. There's no motive, and so they're trying to get to the bottom of who committed this crime, and Truman Capote is chronicling the events of that case. And so I'm very much looking forward to it, especially because I found my love for true crime this year in literature. So I'm really, really excited to get to this one. So that does it for the idol category. The next category that we have are the 4 sequels that I would like to read in 2021. I am the type of person that prefers to read standalones. I love it. I love that a story can be wrapped up in one volume. So I don't really like to read sequels as much. And there are so many sequels that I would love to get through because I love the first book, or I love the series overall. And I just haven't read the sequel. So I need to do that this year. So the 4 that I have selected are 1, Thunderhead by Neal Shusterman, which is the sequel to Scythe by Neal Shusterman that I read last year for the YA BookTube favorites. So I loved that book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, and so I'm really excited to get into Thunderhead and see where the story goes. So let me know if you read it and what your thoughts are, but I am so excited to jump into this one and continue on with the series. The next book that I have is Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas. I read the first 6 books of this series already and loved them. I thoroughly enjoyed this book series. But this book, when I found out that it was from Chaol's perspective, I don't really like Chaol, so why would I want to read an entire book from his perspective? People say that, you know, you kind of find a love for him in this book, but I don't really want to. So that's why I've been putting off on this one for a while. Plus, it's like a honker. It's so fucking big for no reason. So yeah. But I do want to read it so that I can get to Kingdom of Ash and finish the series finally, because it's been finished for years and I just have not completed them. I loved the first 6 books. Why am I waiting? I don't know, but I will be reading this year and I'm excited to get through it. The next book that I have is Villain by Michael Grant. As you know, Michael Grant wrote my favorite series of all time, the Gone series, and this is a continuation of the Gone series. The first book in this continuation was Monster by Michael Grant, and then the second is Villain, the third is Hero. I have not read Villain yet, okay? I've already read the entire Gone series twice, and I read Monster 2 years ago in 2019, and it's about time that I finally read Villain and then move on to Hero as soon as I can, because I want to see what happens to some of my favorite characters and where the story is going overall. So this is Villain by Michael Grant. Like I said, the Gone series is my favorite series of all time. I love every single one of those books. Monster, though, I felt was pretty average. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it, but it was pretty, you know, your standard run-of-the-mill YA superhero book. But I'm hoping that Villain kind of steps up the game from Monster a bit and gets more into the realm of what the Gone series was. But we shall see later this year when I let you know what my thoughts are. So the last book for this category of sequels is Wayward Son by Rainbow Rowell. This is the sequel to Carry On that I read last year for the YA BookTube favorites as well. And I thoroughly enjoyed that book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. So I'm excited to carry on, pun intended, with the series and see if I enjoy it. It's quite a bit shorter than the first novel, and the third novel is coming out very, very soon. So I would like to read this year so that I can move on to the third novel whenever I feel like it. So hopefully this one doesn't disappoint. I love the characters. I love the ambiance that it gives off, and so I'm excited to continue on with the series. So that does it for the 4 sequels that I want to get through in 2021. Now we're moving on to a more specific category, and that is the Stephen King category. I adore Stephen King as a writer. Every book that I've read by him, well, most books that I've read by him, I've enjoyed. So I want to read more from him because I consider myself a Stephen King fan, and in order to be a true Stephen King fan, I need to make it through most, if not all, of his books. So I have planned to read 4 Stephen King books within this category, and the first one is Night Shift by Stephen King. Obviously, this is a collection of short stories and is probably his most famous collection of short stories, and Obviously, this cover is phenomenal. It is the Signet edition. I've already read some of these short stories within this collection. I've read The Boogeyman, I've read The Last Rung on the Ladder, and I've read The Man Who Loved Flowers. The Man Who Loved Flowers is my favorite short story of all time. Like, I've shared that story with my students. Like, they adore it too. It's a phenomenal short story, and the first read of it is always going to be the best read. So definitely check it out if you haven't already. But I'm excited to get to the other short stories in this collection because I hear people love it. So this is going to be one that I am highly, highly anticipating. So let me know if you've read it and what your favorite short stories are from the collection. And at the end of the year, you will see what my thoughts are on this book. The last 3 books that I want to make my way through of Stephen King's are all bound up in this one collection here that I got from Barnes & Noble, which I love this collection so much. I think it just looks phenomenal. But it has Carrie, The Shining, and Salem's Lot within this bind up. I have already read The Shining this year. Not going to tell you what my thoughts are just yet, but I am highly anticipating Carrie and Salem's Lot. I love that the pictures here, like this little hornet here, or the wasp, is from The Shining, and then the bucket is from Carrie. And, you know, I wish I could say that this was from Salem's Lot, but it's just Stephen King. But I am highly anticipating these books as well. Carrie follows a bullied teenage girl who develops telekinetic powers and gets revenge on some bullies in her life. The Shining follows a family who moves to an abandoned hotel for the winter, for the father to kind of run the hotel while no one is there, just maintain it while writing his book, and then the mom and the son and the father all start experiencing some really, really strange things, and the father may go a bit stir crazy and madness ensues. And then Salem's Lot is Stephen King's take on a vampire novel based in this like small town. So I'm excited to get to Carrie and Salem's Lot. Like I said, I already read The Shining this year. But yeah, I just think this edition's so gorgeous, and I'm excited to get to these books. If you've read them, let me know what your thoughts are. Like I said, I am a Stephen King fan. I need to be reading more of him, and so I want to do so with these 4 books. And then the last category that I have for you all is one that I am quite frankly dreading. Why, you may ask? Well, when I said that I like standalone novels, I truly, truly do. I also love short novels. Novels 300 pages and below. Now, I can read some that have more pages than that, obviously. However, I have what Ariel Bissett has coined as big book fear. I am so terrified of big books, and I let that take away from my reading experience overall because I won't pick up big books. Even if I've heard amazing things about them, I won't pick them up just because they're big. Now, I'll pick them up to buy them, but when it comes to actually reading them, they'll sit on my shelf for years. So to break that, I wanted to create a goal for myself to read 4 big books this year. Again, we are already over halfway through this year, so the clock is ticking. So as long as I can make it through one of these books, I'll be happy. But if I can make it through all 4, I will be ecstatic. The first book that I have from that big book category is another Stephen King book, and that is The Stand, which again is this Barnes & Noble edition here. I have already read like maybe 30 to 40% of this book when I was in college. I just never finished it. So I'll be starting over because it's been too long for me to just continue where I left off. I'll be starting over with this book and reading it, and I'm excited. I was enjoying what I read. It was just, again, the big book fear got to me and I stopped reading it. But hopefully it doesn't get to me this time. Hopefully I can make my way all the way through it. It is huge. Am I right? Like, it's over 1,100 pages, so yikes. But I have seen the miniseries, like 80s miniseries, so many times, like 3 or 4 times. I have not yet seen the Paramount Plus, I almost said CBS All Access because that's what it used to be, Paramount Plus miniseries yet, but I wanted to read this before watching it. I have not seen the 80s miniseries in years. Like I can't remember the last time I saw it. So I want this experience for me reading this to be a pretty fresh one without me knowing a lot of the elements of the story. And so I'm gonna read this and then watch those two miniseries again. But I'm a little scared. I'm a little frightened because it's huge. So that is The Stand by Stephen King. The next book that I have frightens me for an entirely different reason. I mean, it still frightens me because it's big, but it also frightens me because everyone who reads it is devastated by it, and that is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. What else is to be said about this book? Everyone on BookTube, well, not everyone, a lot of people on BookTube have already read it and cried their eyes out while reading it. This follows the story of our main character, which is Jude, and his like college classmates and their relationships post-college and in their entire lives. And like I said, I'm really scared because one, it's huge. It's like what? Almost it's like 100 pages. But also because it's pretty traumatic for people. So we'll see. I hope to make it through this one, kind of, but I also kind of don't want to, but I will try my best to make it through this year. So that is A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. Next, we have a book that I am so excited to get through. I love the cover quite a bit, and that is The Contender, The Story of Marlon Brando by William J. Mann. I have a huge crush on Marlon Brando, obviously. I mean, I think he is very attractive in this picture and some movies and stuff. I've never actually seen a movie that he starred in, which is a problem. But I'm telling myself that I should be reading this before watching those movies. Probably the other way around, quite frankly. But I'm gonna read this and then be able to watch his movies and know a bit more about the overall behind the scenes of the filming and who Marlon Brando is as a person. So this book is almost 700 pages long. So it is a huge one, but I think that the story will be able to propel me through, and I think that I will thoroughly enjoy reading this, and I don't think I'll ever take the cover off because, oh my god. But no, this is, like I said, just kind of the biography of Marlon Brando, who was an actor. He was in like A Streetcar Named Desire, he was in the Godfather movies. Those are the only two that I know. But I'm excited to learn more about his life. And yes, I did buy it for the cover, but I'm gonna read it. So it's not just gonna be a cover buy. It's gonna be more than that. So excited to get to this one as well. And then the last book for the category of big books is the last book of all of these categories, and that is Columbine by Dave Cullen. So I have had a huge fear of school shootings since I was like maybe, I can't remember how old I was during the Virginia Tech shooting, but I remember being so scared because I remember knowing that it was at a school, a college, but a school, and thinking that it could happen to me. And Columbine, happened in my lifetime, but before I could really realize what was going on. The Virginia Tech shooting was the first one that I really understood what was going on and was frightened by. Since then, I have watched quite a few documentaries, quite a few articles. I have, seen movies, etc., read books about school shootings, and for a while, I know it's morbid, but I told my friends, I was like, I have the feeling, like, we all have kind of like a feeling of how we're gonna die. Maybe not, but maybe it's just me. But I was like, I have a feeling I'm gonna die in a school shooting. But I think it was just because that initial Virginia Tech shooting scared me so much and has always stuck with me and always been a fear of mine. And I knew that I would be in schools for the rest of my life. I'm a teacher, okay? Like, I was in school as a student through, from kindergarten to college, and now I'm in it as a teacher. So, the likelihood of me never experiencing a school shooting in America, very, very low. So that's why I kind of always felt that way. But Columbine, I have, been interested in the story of how it all happens. I've seen a a documentary on it. I have read Rage by Stephen King, which kind of inspired, quote unquote, inspired the boys to do the school shooting. I have listened to Cassie by Flyleaf, which kind of chronicles the experience of one girl from the Columbine shooting. So overall, I, needless to say, am looking forward to reading this and getting a better understanding of what happened. Therefore, easing my fears a bit, I think, with this one. This one will help kind of, at first it may make me a little more scared, but by the end of it, I'm hoping that having more of an understanding and not just being confused will aid in my getting over this fear of school shootings, but we shall see. But that's Columbine by Dave Cullen. So this is the last book of all of the categories. I hope you enjoyed this video. I am so excited to get through all of these. If you've read any of these, please leave down below in the comment section what you thought of them. If you haven't, but you want to, you can always comment and see if we can do like a buddy read or something. I think that would be fun. But other than that, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. But other than that, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And also, hit that post notification bell so you're notified every time that I post a new video. My name is Brandon. I'll see you next time. Bye.